Welcome to WikiPodcast.
Great to be diving in again.
Absolutely. So today we're tackling a really big one, anger.
Right. That very raw, powerful emotion.
Exactly. And we usually think of it as, negative, destructive even.
That's the common view, definitely. Something to control or get rid of.
Well, we're asking, is that the whole picture? Could anger maybe actually serve a purpose? Like a protective one?
That's the core question for this deep dive, yeah. Exploring if there's more to anger than just breaking things. We'll be pulling from psychology mostly.
Looking beyond that initial negative reaction.
Exactly, because, we came across this piece, The Protective Power of Anger.
Ah, right.
And it really challenges that purely destructive view. It suggests anger might actually be there for something.
Like a signal.
Yeah, precisely. Not just noise. It could be protective, maybe motivating, even highlighting injustice.
That makes sense, like an internal alarm bell, maybe? You feel that heat rise when something feels wrong, when a line's been crossed?
Totally. That feeling of, hey, that's not right. That's the core idea. It can push us to defend ourselves or stand up for what's fair.
So it's the feeling and the potential action it inspires.
Which, interestingly, brings us to another emotion, something that feels, well, completely different. Hope.
Hope. Okay, that feels like a big shift from anger.
It does on the surface. Wikipedia defines hope pretty simply. It's that optimistic state, expecting good things down the line.
The opposite of feeling completely down, like dejection, hopelessness, you feel the lack of it very heavily.
You really do. So the question is, how does hope, this seemingly positive force, connect with something like anger?
Right, where's the link?
Well, let's look at Barbara Fredrickson's work. She argues that hope isn't just, a nice feeling. It really comes alive during crises.
Oh, interesting, when things are tough.
Exactly. She says it can actually broaden how we think, open us up to new ideas, new possibilities. And it fuels things like courage. It's got to be realistic hope, though. She stresses that.
So not just pie in the sky wishing, it's a kind of resilience booster.
Yeah, you could put it that way. And this ties nicely into Charles R. Snyder's work, his hope theory.
Okay, what's that about?
He breaks hope down into 3 parts. First, you need goals, something you're aiming for.
Right, makes sense.
Second, pathways. You need to see ways, routes to actually reach those goals.
The how.
Exactly. And third, and this is crucial, is agency.
Agency, like believing you can do it.
Precisely. That inner conviction that you have the power, the ability to use those pathways and get to those goals. That I can make this happen feeling.
Got it. Goals, pathways, agency.
And Snyder, he made a point to separate hope from just general optimism.
How so?
Well, optimism might be just expecting good things, sort of passively. But hope, for Snyder, is more active. It's having the will and finding the ways. It's more practical.
Okay, I see the distinction. So let's bring anger back in. Could it be? Could that surge of anger when you face injustice or feel wronged, could that be the spark? The thing that ignites the agency part of hope?
That's a really powerful thought, isn't it?
Like the I won't accept this feeling that actually drives you to look for those pathways.
It could very well be.
Yeah.
Think about the sheer energy in anger. It's intense.
It is.
If you channel that energy, maybe it does fuel that belief in your ability to act, to push for change. Anger says no, and hope says, yes, there's a way forward, and I can find it.
Wow. So anger is a potential catalyst for hope-driven action.
It's a possibility, yeah. And think about the flip side. What happens when hope is completely gone? There was this quite striking experiment with rats.
Kurt Richter.
Rats. Okay, tell me more.
So he found that wild rats put in inescapable water tanks. They gave up and drowned really fast.
Oh.
Within minutes.
It's grim.
It is. But here's the kicker. He took another group of wild rats, put them in, but then rescued them briefly, just once, before putting them back.
Those rats, they swam for hours.
Yeah.
The difference was just massive.
Wow. Just because they'd experienced being saved once. A glimmer of hope.
It seems so. That tiny experience of rescue, that hint that escape might be possible, it fundamentally changed their will to keep going. It really highlights how vital hope is, even for basic survival.
That's incredible. And this idea isn't just modern psychology, is it? What about myths? Pandora's box?
Exactly. All the evils fly out into the world. But what's left inside the box? Or jar, depending on the version.
Hope.
Hope. The interpretation being that even with all the suffering, hope is what helps us endure. It's seen as this powerful, healing force.
But not all cultures see it that way, right?
No, absolutely not. Look at Norse mythology. Their concept, Vun, often translated as hope, was viewed pretty negatively.
Really? Why?
It was sometimes seen as a delusion, like the slobber of the monstrous wolf Fenris. They seemed to value courage in the face of hopelessness more, acting bravely without expecting a good outcome.
Fascinating. A totally different cultural lens on hope.
It really shows how context shapes these things. And then you look at religious traditions, and you see even more perspectives.
Like in Judaism.
Yeah, you have terms like piyah and saber for hope, often tied closely to trust, to expectation in God's plan or a better future.
And Christianity elevates hope, doesn't it? It's a core virtue.
A theological virtue, alongside faith and love. It's often about a confident expectation of future reward, salvation, with Christ as the ultimate source of hope.
Okay. What about Eastern traditions?
Well, in Hinduism, you see concepts like pratiti or apeksh linked to desire, wish, but also this long-term karmic idea that diligent effort, good karma, eventually brings positive results. It's a sort of cause and effect hope.
And Buddhism.
Buddhism often talks about hope as part of the path to well-being. Not just wishful thinking, but practical hope built on faith, wisdom, aspiration components needed to actually achieve harmony.
So hope takes many forms across cultures and beliefs.
Definitely. Now let's try and pull this all together. We've seen hope as this vital force motivating, protecting, driving survival and action.
Yeah.
So back to our initial question about anger. Could it be that anger, when it rises against injustice or threat, is actually a sign that hope isn't dead yet?
Say more.
Like maybe it's a fierce refusal to slip into despair, a raw, visceral no that signals a deep down belief, or at least a desire, that things could be different, better, that you still have the energy to fight for that better outcome.
So anger as, in a way, the guardian of hope, protecting that flicker.
Perhaps. It's complex, because anger clearly can be destructive. We all know that.
Absolutely.
But maybe it's potential to signal injustice, to motivate self-protection, to fuel that agency we talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe that suggests it's not just a negative. It's got layers.
It certainly seems more nuanced than just bad emotion.
Yeah.
The connection with hope, even if indirect, is really thought-provoking.
It challenges us to look a bit deeper, doesn't it?
It really does. Which leads us to a final thought for you listening. Thinking about everything we've touched on, anger's potential protective side, its complex dance with hope. How might this change how you view your own anger?
Yeah, could you look back at times you felt angry and see maybe not just negativity, but a signal, a sign of something you valued being threatened, or even a spark of that hopeful agency refusing to give up?
Something to mull over, for sure.
A different perspective.
Thank you for listening. Write us in the comments your opinion on the episode and what other topics you'd like us to talk about. Subscribe to the channel to help us reach more listeners. Thank you, and have an amazing day.